Have you ever felt the weight of a dream, so powerful it keeps you awake at night, yet somehow you still don't begin? You wait for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect confidence, but it never seems to come. Today, I want you to stay with me until the very end, because what we're about to unlock together might just be the switch your life has been waiting for. Jim Rohn taught us something simple but profound. The journey doesn't start until you start, and in the next few minutes, you'll discover exactly how to take that first courageous step. 1. The journey doesn't start until you start. Every dream you carry, every desire burning quietly inside you, every goal you've written and rewritten 100 times in your notebook begins the moment you finally decide to move. Not tomorrow, not when the timing feels convenient, not after you figure things out, but in the exact moment you choose to take action. Jim Rohn consistently reminded us that life does not reward intentions. It rewards execution. You can plan all you want, you can dream endlessly, you can analyze the path from every angle, but until you take that step, no matter how small, you remain exactly where you are. And that is where many people lose their momentum before they even begin. They confuse motion for progress, thinking that planning is the same as building, that intention is the same as execution, but nothing becomes real until you start. Starting is often the most underestimated form of power we possess. It may look insignificant on the outside, almost too small to matter, but those tiny beginnings hold the seeds of massive transformation. A single step toward your health can change your future. A single saved dollar can change your financial destiny. A single hour spent learning can redirect the trajectory of your entire life. People often want the result without honoring the beginning, but the beginning is where character is built, where discipline is shaped, and where belief is born. Jim Rohn often said that the miracle of life is that you can start new anytime you choose, and that truth is available to everyone, regardless of their past or circumstances. The journey doesn't start when conditions are perfect because perfection is an illusion that keeps most people stuck. It starts the moment you choose to act in imperfect conditions, with imperfect skills, holding imperfect clarity. It starts when you step into the unknown and trust that the road will reveal itself as you walk. The person you're meant to become does not appear at the start of the journey. They emerge through the process. Every new beginning feels uncomfortable, and that discomfort is the proof that you're stepping into something capable of changing you. What people forget is that the first step is rarely dramatic. It's usually quiet, simple, and unseen. It may look like waking up an hour earlier, choosing water instead of soda, sitting down to write one page, sending that first email, or saying no to a habit that has drained your life for years. These actions are small but powerful because they represent a shift in identity. They tell your mind, we are doing things differently now. And once you start, something remarkable happens. The universe begins to respond. Opportunities appear, ideas emerge, energy increases, and slowly but surely, the momentum builds. Starting is not about feeling ready. It's about deciding. Jim Rohn reminded us that the doors of opportunity swing open for those who knock boldly, not for those who wait silently. So if there's a dream inside you, treat today as the beginning of that journey. Start anywhere. Start small, start messy, start uncertain, but start because transformation is waiting on the other side of that first courageous step. 2. Why people delay. People don't delay because they lack ambition. Most people have dreams, big ones. They imagine a better body, a better career, stronger finances, deeper relationships, or a life filled with purpose and freedom. The problem is rarely the dream. It's the emotional resistance attached to pursuing it. People delay because stepping toward their goals means stepping into discomfort, uncertainty, and potential failure. And psychologically, the mind prefers the familiar, even if the familiar is painful, over the unknown, even if the unknown holds a better future. Fear is one of the greatest thieves of destiny. It convinces people to wait for clarity before they begin, not realizing that clarity is something that grows through experience, not contemplation. You can't know what the next 5 steps look like until you take the first one. Delaying becomes a silent habit, a pattern so subtle that it disguises itself as logic. I'll start when things calm down. I'll begin when I have more money. I'll try again when I feel motivated. Each excuse feels reasonable in the moment, but collectively becomes a prison of stagnation. Jim Rohn famously said, "The walls we build around us to keep sadness out also keep opportunity out." Delay is one of those walls. Hesitation is costly. It steals more dreams than failure ever has. Failure at least moves you forward, teaches you, sharpens you, humbles you, strengthens you. Hesitation keeps you still. It creates a heavy kind of regret, the kind that grows as the years pass, whispering the painful question, what could my life have been if I didn't wait? Over time, delay doesn't just become a habit, it becomes an identity. The person who once believed in possibility slowly becomes someone who only believes in limitations, not because they lacked potential, but because they allowed hesitation to shape their destiny. But the moment you decide to break this cycle, everything shifts. When you act despite fear, when you move despite uncertainty, you claim back the authority that hesitation has stolen from you. That first moment of courage becomes the crack in the wall, and once the wall cracks, it cannot hold you anymore. Momentum starts to build, and with every small action, the weight of procrastination begins to dissolve. The truth is, the mind will always present reasons to delay because delay feels safer. But safety is often a disguise for stagnation. Growth requires motion. Progress requires movement, and the life you want cannot reach you if you keep stepping away from the starting line. Jim Rohn taught that the best time to start is when you truly become tired of where you are. And for many people, change begins the day they realize that staying the same is far more painful than taking a risk. If you've been delaying, you're not alone. But remember this. The moment you decide to act, the weight you've been carrying begins to disappear. Action breaks hesitation. Action dissolves fear. Action creates hope. And once you start moving, you'll wonder why you didn't begin sooner. 3. Confidence comes after action. Jim Rohn often taught a simple but life-changing truth. Confidence is not a requirement for action. It is the result of it. Most people wait to feel confident before they start a business, apply for a promotion, speak up, learn a new skill, or pursue a dream. But confidence is not something you acquire through thinking, wishing, or imagining. It is something that grows naturally when you do the very thing you are afraid of. When you take action, even small action, you create evidence. And evidence is what the mind uses to rewrite its beliefs about what you're capable of. One completed task becomes proof. One small win becomes proof. 1 hour of discipline becomes proof. Over time, these proofs accumulate and form an inner foundation that feels like confidence. It's not magic, it's psychology. You act, you gather evidence. The evidence becomes belief. People who lack confidence don't actually lack ability, they lack proof, and that proof cannot come before the action. It can only come because of it. Imagine trying to feel strong before ever lifting a weight. It doesn't work. Strength comes from the reps. Confidence works the same way. You only become confident by practicing courage repeatedly. This is why starting matters so much. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. When you keep promises to yourself, you build trust in yourself. When you keep moving forward despite fear, You teach yourself that fear does not control you. When you complete the things you once avoided, you show yourself that you are more capable than you believed. Confidence grows from the inside out, built brick by brick through daily action. But here's the deeper truth Jim Rohn emphasized. Confidence doesn't come from perfection, it comes from progress. You don't need to do everything right. You don't need to be the best. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone else. You just need to keep moving. Consistency builds a strength that motivation alone cannot. Confidence is not born in moments of comfort, but in moments when you choose discipline over doubt. The people who seem naturally confident are usually the ones who have taken the most action. They've failed more, learned more, practiced more, and stayed committed longer. Their confidence is not a personality trait, it's a byproduct of repeated effort. Their courage didn't come from being fearless, it came from acting anyway, and the more they acted, the less fear controlled them. When you take action, even if you're nervous, even if you feel unprepared, something powerful happens. You expand. You become someone who refuses to be limited by insecurity. You begin to trust your ability to learn, adapt, and grow. That self-trust becomes confidence. It becomes the quiet inner voice that says, I can handle this. I've done hard things before. Action is the architect of confidence. Every time you show up, every exercise completed, every page written, every hour studied, every effort made builds a stronger version of you. So don't wait to feel confident. Let your actions sculpt the confidence you desire. Start where you are, use what you have, and trust that confidence will rise within you as you continue to move forward. 4. Breaking the first barrier. Every great journey begins with a moment so small that most people overlook it, the moment you decide to move. This is the moment where the first barrier lives. And contrary to what many believe, the first barrier has nothing to do with talent, money, experience, or even opportunity. The first barrier is inertia. It's the quiet, invisible force that holds your feet still even when your mind is dreaming loudly. It's the weight you feel when your heart says go, but your body refuses to rise. Inertia is powerful not because it is strong, but because it is subtle. It convinces you to wait just a little longer, to start tomorrow instead of today, to plan instead of act. It whispers reasonable excuses like, I'm not ready, I need more information, or I'll begin when the conditions are perfect. And that's how most dreams die, not through failure, but through delay. But something extraordinary happens the moment you move, even if that movement is tiny, imperfect, or hesitant. The resistance weakens. Like pushing a heavy cart, the hardest part is always the first push. Once there's even a little motion, the load becomes lighter, the wheels begin to turn, and the path begins to open. This is why the first inch is so much harder than the first mile. It demands courage before confidence, action before clarity, belief before evidence. Yet every great achiever, every innovator, every leader, every person who has ever transformed their life started by breaking this first barrier. And they didn't break it with massive boldness. They broke it with a small act of intention. The moment you send the first email, make the first call, write the first sentence, take the first class, or step outside your comfort zone for the first time, the old version of you begins to dissolve. You start to see that the giant wall in front of you was actually made of paper. You realize that motion creates possibility, and possibility creates energy. The path ahead, once intimidating, begins to look manageable, even exciting. And suddenly, the question is no longer, can I, but how far can I go? This transformation, this shift from stuck to moving, is the turning point in every meaningful journey. If you can conquer inertia, you can conquer almost anything. Because once you've broken that first invisible barrier, you gain something more valuable than motivation. You gain momentum. And momentum becomes the driving force that carries you forward when willpower runs low. But it all begins with that single, brave inch. Not the mile, not the marathon, just the inch. Break that first barrier, and you will never be the same. 5. One step at a time. Success has never been about taking giant leaps. It has always been about taking consistent steps. Yet in a world obsessed with shortcuts, rapid results, and overnight success stories, people forget that all meaningful growth happens gradually. The principle of one step at a time is powerful not because it's poetic, but because it's true. When you stare at a big dream, a new career, a healthier body, a transformed mindset, a financial breakthrough, your mind becomes overwhelmed. The staircase looks too tall, the climb looks too steep, and suddenly the journey feels impossible. But the mind can handle one step, one action, one task, one moment of courage. The magic happens when you stop thinking about the entire staircase and start thinking only about the next step. Big dreams shrink to manageable sizes when you break them into small, actionable pieces. And each step you take does something profound. It teaches you. It reveals new knowledge, new skills, new perspectives, and new strengths you didn't know you possessed. That's the beauty of progress. It reshapes you while you're moving. Every step adds a layer of confidence. Every action builds competence. Every small win plants a seed of belief. And belief, once planted, grows into ambition. The journey becomes less about reaching the top and more about discovering who you are becoming along the way. People often freeze because they worry about the future. What if I fail? What if it takes too long? What if I'm not good enough? But the future doesn't need to be solved today. Only the step in front of you does. The next step holds the key to the one after it, and the next step after that will reveal the path ahead. This is why progress often feels slow at first. It's supposed to. You're building the foundation, the stamina, the mindset, and the structure that will support you later. Every great achievement is simply a collection of small steps accumulated over time. A book is written one page at a time. A business is built one customer at a time. A body transforms one workout and one meal at a time. A skill develops one practice session at a time, and a life changes one decision at a time. When you embrace this principle, pressure disappears. You stop obsessing over outcomes and start focusing on actions. You stop worrying about how long the journey will take and start appreciating the progress you're making. The next step becomes your world. And the beauty of taking just one step is that it creates momentum. It makes the next step easier. The staircase may be long, but if you keep climbing one step at a time, the top is inevitable. You don't need speed. You don't need perfection. You don't need certainty. You only need movement. And movement, when repeated, becomes mastery. One step at a time is not just a strategy, it is the secret to achieving anything worthwhile in life. 6. Build momentum. Momentum is the most powerful force you can create in your personal growth journey. It is the invisible current that pulls you forward even when your energy dips, your motivation fades, or your challenges intensify. Momentum is what transforms effort into ease, discipline into habit, and action into automatic progress. But here's the truth. Momentum doesn't appear on its own. You have to build it. And the way you build it is beautifully simple. Start small, start imperfectly, but most importantly, start now. In the beginning, every action requires deliberate effort. It's like trying to push a heavy boulder. The first attempt feels impossible. The second is slightly easier. By the third, the boulder begins to budge, and once it's rolling, you no longer have to push with the same intensity. The movement sustains itself. This is momentum. Once you take the first few steps, something remarkable begins to happen. Life starts cooperating with you. Opportunities you never noticed begin to appear. People who resonate with your direction start showing up. Your energy rises because action creates energy, not the other way around. Confidence grows because doing builds belief. And the small wins you accumulate begin stacking, creating a sense of progress that fuels you even further. Momentum turns the hardest part of your journey into the easiest part. What once felt intimidating becomes routine. What once required discipline becomes habit. What once drained you now energizes you. And before you know it, the goal that once felt distant begins to feel inevitable. This is why the key is not doing everything. It's doing something consistently. Every repeated action strengthens the rhythm of your progress. Every day you show up, even for 5 minutes, you reinforce your identity as someone who moves forward. And identity is the powerful engine behind momentum. Once you begin seeing yourself as a person who takes action, who grows, who improves, who shows up, momentum becomes self-sustaining. But the danger lies in stopping. Momentum is powerful, but it is also fragile in its early stages. Missing 1 day is normal. Missing 2 is recoverable. Missing 3 can break the rhythm you've built. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. A small daily action beats a massive monthly effort. A small win beats a giant plan. A 5-minute step beats a perfect intention. Momentum respects one thing: continuity. And when continuity is maintained, momentum becomes unstoppable. Suddenly, the journey that once seemed daunting becomes deeply rewarding. The challenges become opportunities. The setbacks become lessons. The progress becomes addictive. And the success becomes a natural outcome rather than a forced achievement. Momentum is your greatest ally because it transforms the journey from difficult to doable, from exhausting to energizing, and from overwhelming to empowering. But it begins only when you choose to move. Not perfectly, not completely, but consistently. Start, keep going, and let momentum turn your effort into transformation. When momentum takes over, the journey becomes not just possible, but powerful. Your future isn't built in your thoughts, it's built in your actions. Start now. Start small, start uncertain, but start, because your future is waiting and it needs you to begin.